We're giving the TJ a little love today. We're going to replace these old factory wore out taillights with these shiny bright new LED taillights. Y'all stick around. Y'all, welcome back to the channel. My name is Clint, and it's been a while since we did anything on M's TJ Grunt. So last year we upgraded the headlights, put RGB LED halo headlights on it. Man, them things are bright. Been doing really great. Well, we got noticing the taillights are super dull, not bright at all. Concerned about being seen at night. Pew pew. I don't know if you guys heard that or not, but somebody just went on a shooting spree. So I went online, did some digging, and I found these taillights on Amazon. They're by GCD. I'll put a link in the description to these taillights if you're interested in them. Less than $100. I think they were $80, I think. Much more expensive than, I mean, you can find LED taillights for, you know, 20 bucks if you want to, but, you know, I was a little bit leery of taillights being that inexpensive. So I opted to give these a try. They're going to come as a set. I've already installed the driver's side. They're going to be exactly the same. The only difference is on the driver's side, this right here, it's going to be clear down here at the bottom, and there's going to be LEDs in there. That's for your license plate. Your OEM one works the exact same way. Just like this. This is the factory light. It's clear. Of course, it's all dull and faded, and you know how this polycarbonate lens gets. It gets nasty and dirty. We've tried to clean them up, make them a little brighter, just for security's sake, to no avail. So just opted to just replace them. And because these are fit for CJs, YJs, and TJs, it's kind of a universal deal here. You're gonna have to pop a couple of these out to match your bolt pattern. For our application, it's these two on the bottom and then the center one on the top. One of the issues you may run into when you're changing from your factory halogen lights to LED lights is when you hit your turn signal, you get a hyperflash. Some vehicles, when you have a light bulb out, regardless of which one it is, you hit your turn signal will flash really fast. That's called a hyperflash. Well, because the LEDs use so much less voltage than a halogen light, that's what happens. The system thinks that there's a light bulb out, so you get that hyperflash. I found this online. This is a new flasher relay that's supposed to resolve the hyperflash issue, but I'll have a link in the description to this as well. If it works, great. So the first thing you're going to want to do is remove these 4 screws on your lens cover. Pop your lens cover off. Now inside your tail light housing, you got 3 bolts. 1, 2, 3. No, 3. That's how it's attached to the body. They're a 10 mil. You got to take those out. Pull your tail light out. Pull your wiring harness. There's your plug. Now, on the driver's side, I was able to pull this all the way out and get to this connector. But on the passenger side, I couldn't. So I thought, well, I can always just cut these wires right here. And I thought, yeah, I don't really want to do that. I kind of like the idea of having that plug. So, if you still have your factory inner fenders, you can pop this little push tab out right there. Pull this down. Then you can access your harness connector. Now there are a couple of different routes you can go once you get to this point. Like I said, you could have cut this on the Jeep and then carried your tail light over there, spliced your wires together. But the way I'm going to do it, the way I did the other side, I am going to cut this, but I'm going to hook the pigtail into the new tail light. And I'm going to solder all that up so it's a good clean connection. So the instructions that came with these lights
say that the red wire is the backup light, the brown wire is the tail light, and the yellow wire is the stop and turn light. This isn't yellow, this is green. It was yellow on the driver's side, but it's green on this side. So I'm just going to take a chance and assume that it's supposed to be the yellow wire. Now for your factory pigtail. This black wire with the yellow line, that's your tail light. This purple wire with the black line, that's your backup light. And I think this wire is supposed to be green, but it looks brown. That may just be age. That's supposed to be your brake light and your turn signal. Now, a quick easy way to test your wiring before you make it permanent, get you some of these little twist connectors. Makes things so much easier. So, let's just twist these together. Put this little twist connector on there. Now before you carry this over there to test your connections, you're going to have to do something. There is no ground wire in this harness, and your factory harness is the exact same way. If you look in the factory light housing, see this metal? It's where your bolts go through, and that metal and the bolt going through into the tub, that's actually your ground right there. So you have to get your bolts through the new housing. So you can either use a jumper wire like I did yesterday, or just temporarily snug it up in there to make sure your connections are right so you have a ground so they'll work. Now, I've got my holes popped out. Now I'm going to take this apart as best I can because these are connected. Be careful, you don't want to, they're just, the wires are soldered together, so you don't want to start yanking on them and pull your wires loose to expose the inside. And it's just like the factory one. You've got this metal here that's going to be your grounding point. I'm just going to stick one bolt in here just so I can loosely attach it to the tub, make sure everything works. Don't forget to connect your pigtail. Tail light works. Turn signal works with hyperflash. Brake light works. Now that you know your connections are correct, you can go to making these permanent either by using a crimp connector like this. You just put an end of the wire in each side, crimp it together. I wouldn't suggest just putting electrical tape around it, especially if you're wheeling. Stuff can bounce around and come loose, and then you won't have any tail lights or brake lights or anything else. Personally, I prefer soldering them and then putting heat shrink over them and then wrapping electrical tape around it. That way I'm very confident that those connections aren't going to come loose. One bit of advice, much like spark plugs back in the old days, for those of you who remember those, don't just go pull all these off, because if you don't remember, then you'll be like, dadgummit, now you have to go through the whole process all over again if you don't remember which wires went where. So do one at a time. I'm thirsty. Cheers. One down, two to go. All right, now as you can see, I've got all my connections soldered, heat shrink, and taped up. Take this out. And we can put our bolts in here. Now what was easiest for me, put one in at a time. Turn it over. I don't know dadgummit how well you can see this. You turn it over, and then they send these little foam bushings, for lack of a better term. You put it over the bolt. It helps hold it in place. Now, once you've got your housing attached back to your tub, you put all this back together. Make sure you get this rubber seal where it's supposed to be. And also, wipe off your lens cover so you don't have fingerprints and dirt and whatever else on the inside, making it look like trash. Now for screws, they send you new screws for this, but they're zinc coated, and I think they stand out a little bit too much. I don't like the look, so I'm going back with the black factory screws. Well, as you can see, the lights work. We've got the hyperflash deal going on, so we're going to change out that relay and see if that goes away. Okay, I know this looks terrible, but to remove these panels, and really you don't need to remove everything that I removed. I was just looking for the relay. I knew it was up under the dash somewhere, but where exactly I didn't know. So I turned the key on. Turn signal's on. You can hear the flasher. The relay is right here. I have my finger on it. So in order to remove these panels, it's real easy. There's only two screws. There are two screws in this bottom panel right here, and it pops off. You pull the you pull this rubber seal off your turn signal deal. Make sure you don't have your keys on, and this top one will just pop right off, and then your flasher relay sits right there. So I'm going to get that changed out, and we'll see if that does the trick. All right, you can see that's the new flasher relay, and it is not hyper flashing. All right, you can see I got it all back together now. It didn't take just a couple minutes. So to access your flasher relay, it's going to be up here, right? There's only two screws for here, right here and right there. You need a screwdriver to get up in there. Kind of got to fiddle around with it. Pull those screws out, release your steering column adjuster, and once you get these two screws out right here, this bottom panel will just pop off, and then you can just finagle this top one off, and then your flasher relay will be right up here. So that's the install of the LED tail lights on the Jeep Wrangler TJ. Wasn't too difficult. As I said earlier, I'll have a link in the description to these tail lights and that flasher relay. If you've already done LED tail lights or headlights or your different light configurations and you're having hyper flash issue, this relay will fix that. Hope you like this video. Remember to like, comment, subscribe, and share. Until the next time, keep the shiny side up and Jeep on.